as you know, I'm absolutely passionate about getting young people into the world of work, and they can't do that if they can't read, write, and count. And it has been getting better the last few years, without doubt, but it's still very poor. By the way, it's very poor in America, Germany, and France. Would you believe? It's a Western democratic capitalistic issue, and that is that too many people can't read, write, and count to the standard expected of an 11-year-old. And you haven't a hope in an advanced economy where you've got to become more productive, not by working harder, but by working more cleverly. If you can't read an instruction manual, you haven't got a prayer. And that I think is a big issue. I repeat, it's better than 10 years ago, but it's still not good enough.
And I also do think, we now move on, but I do think, as he observed as well, the fact that you've now got an education secretary who didn't go to Oxford or Cambridge but did an apprenticeship may just be one of the most important political facts at the moment. Let's talk about the autumn statement. Straight question, what did you make of it?
Well, I was surprised the next morning when it got, by and large, panned in the media, because I actually thought it was very good. I thought Jeremy Hunt stood there with the air of a bank manager saying, you know, this is good for you. And at the same time, he kept some of those, a lot more actually, of that help for those not so well off. He kept it there. And I have in mind particularly the 10% rise in pension income. Why, for the life of me, they don't bring in means testing for pensions is beyond me, because there'll be an awful lot of people who are going to get 10% pay rise in their retirement pension, who frankly, of course they would like it, but do they need it? And there are a lot of people at the bottom end of pension receipt who desperately need it. So I'm not saying it shouldn't have happened, but I am surprised, given that desperate times call for desperate measures, they didn't bring in a degree of means testing. The other thing that I did like to see was this acknowledgement that, Jeremy Hunt, I'm Chancellor of a government that actually you, Prime Minister, when you were Chancellor, handed out all this money to really make sure that people could get through the pandemic. And then, he didn't quite use these words, but now comes the time to pay for it.
Yeah.
And the trouble is, I think, too many people are feeling entitled. They're feeling, well, I had that sort of money, so what are you going to do about it now? I'm in trouble with this. What are you going to do about it now? And when you think that in the next year, Alistair, we are going to pay as a nation £100 billion in interest on the debt that we have. That is more than we spend on defence.
Absolutely.
And the more the debt comes down, the more money is available to go and spend on other things. But to get the debt down, we have got to tighten our belts as a nation.
Right. Let me put two quick things to you, and I wrote them down when I heard them said to me yesterday on the programme. Sarah Keel, brilliant, young, small SME businesswoman, runs Baby Cup. She said, if you take 25 billion out of the economy through tax rises and thresholds and the rest of it, that's going to screw me. It means there won't be people who've got the money to come and buy my baby cups. That's a truth across the sector, isn't it?
It's a truth, but it's unavoidable. Because at some point, you have. How else do you do it? I mean, I think the way that he's gone after the better off with the taxing more at 45% is a good idea, but they don't like it. That'll take money out, which Baby Cup won't have it spent on them. But somewhere he's got to find this money. Yeah. I mean, the one that I thought you were going to say, SMEs were going to say, is that he's actually reduced substantially the amount of money that you can take out as a dividend before you pay tax on it. Now, small businesses, a lot of small businesses, pay themselves by dividend. Yeah. So that because basically they don't know month in, month out how much they're going to get, and they level it off at the end of the year with a dividend payment out of the profits.
I'll tell you what I'll do. Only because the clock is against us. Next time, I'm going to ask my producer to get you and Sarah on, because that would be a great item, and you can have that conversation. Final point, and it's a very serious one, and it's Bob Seeley. You know him well, so do I. Tory Member of Parliament for the Isle of Wight. And he said the key thing that ministers have got to do right now, because it impacts on the electorate, on businesses across the spectrum, is get out there and give people some hope. You've tried to do that this morning, but he's right about the ministers as well, isn't he?
Yeah, it's about leadership, isn't it? It's about the fact that you've got to say to people, this is where the sunlit upland is. It's over there. I'm going to take you there. But you cannot have had all this money spent on you, plus this madman in Moscow doing what he's doing, without there being a price. Get realistic, understand it, but we're on your side. We're with you, taking you there. And I defy any member of the Labour Party to give an alternative way of doing this, because when they use words like, oh, we would grow the economy, well, that's lovely to say. You try and do it in the middle of this worldwide recession. And I tell you this, Alistair, and we'll leave it with this, but if business doesn't make money, there is no tax and there are no jobs. And that tax goes to pay for the public sector, who in turn get income and pay tax. But the difference is that a public sector employee gets their money. Forget a pay rise, they actually get their monthly money. If you're in business, especially small business, we're approaching the way where a lot of businesses don't know where the next meal's coming from. And if that happens, you reduce your tax take, and you still need to pay your obligations to pay the wages in the public sector. And of course the nurses deserve it, and of course the teachers deserve it, and our wonderful servicemen deserve it. But it has to come from creating wealth in the private sector. That is a truism. And the more people who understood that, then frankly would get out of this mess more quickly.